recognize the gentleman from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The past few years, the left has used every weapon, including weaponizing the Department of Justice against President Trump. But of course, they didn't stop at the DOJ. The left used state and local prosecutors to do their biddings as well. Do you remember the so-called hush money case in New York? This is the case that was led by Matthew Colangelo, the former number 3 at the DOJ. That's right. A high-ranking DOJ official left his job to work for a local DA's office. That's pretty ridiculous and does not pass a smell test to anybody that's competent. And of course, there's the so-called RICO case in Georgia, as if this guy was Al Capone. Thanks, Fannie. And then there's Tish James. She ran solely on prosecuting Donald Trump. Now, isn't her main job to protect New Yorkers? She was clearly distracted. And you cannot tell me that these cases were not politically motivated. And if President Trump were not running for president again, none of this would have happened, period. None of this would have happened. What people have got to understand is that this is really, really good for fundraising for Democrats. But I'm going to say the quiet part out loud here. They want the veneer of legitimacy. You may have forgotten this, but again, they threw everything at President Trump. They impeached him twice. They tried to remove his name from the state presidential ballots. They laser-focused Lady Justice to eliminate the competition. And how do you survive this? Because he is clearly not like the average person. He is a political force of nature. What happened over the course of the past 4 years to President Trump should shock everyone in this country. Because one thing he would always say on the campaign trail was this: if he could do it to me, they could do it to you. I'm just standing in their way. This is repulsive behavior that we saw from the left to prevent a man from becoming the president of the free world, and guess what happened? We, the people, saw right through the crap, and we still made him our 47th president. Thank God for the resolve of the American people. Mr. Epstein, I have a question for you, sir. Thank you for your work to expose weaponization against President Trump. You referenced that the Alvin Bragg case was coordinated with Biden. And for those of us at home, can you walk us through this process and kind of how it happened? And can you explain how Biden and his fingerprints were all over this operation?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. So I wish we could tell you what the documents would reveal. That's still up in litigation. But what we did at America First Legals, we obviously used a FOIA request to Main Justice to look for communications with the New York District Attorney's Office. And the response, consistent with what Attorney General Garland said to this committee, was that there were no responsive records. And so what we did is what any good investigative lawyer does, is you send a similar request to the district attorney's office in New York, the Manhattan DA, and you say, give us all communications with the Department of Justice. And while they didn't disclose those records, they said there's 36 responsive records, which suggests that, in fact, there were communications. And it's important for the public to know what was said in those communications.
Thank you very much for answering the question. And I also want the American public to understand something. The reason why the left is still railing on President Trump, even though he won the presidency, we won the Senate, and we were able to keep the majority in the House, is because, quite frankly, they have nowhere else to go because this lawfare fell flat on its face. We cannot allow this to happen again in the future of this country. That's why we've got to understand our history and how this works. We have to understand that we are a constitutional republic, and we must protect the average citizen in this country, ranging from President Trump to the average person that works every day here in America that makes a decent wage to just take care of their family. Everybody must be treated fairly under the law, regardless of what they do or regardless of what they aspire to be. And with that, I yield back the remainder of my time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank my friend from Texas.